Anyway, there was one of the games, and it got a bit weird. Mark Butler said, an extraordinary game really. It felt like Catalan pummeled Salford for most of this, but despite absorbing a lot of pressure, Salford showed some incredible goal line defence when under the pump. They somehow scored at the right times too, and you have to tip your hat to how they keep doing better than expected. Should maintain the integrity of the Super League table too. Well, it means Catalans can maybe squeeze in a catch-up match, right? But it means Salford can't, so it's kind of...
Yeah, but as the team who are in the biggest amount of trouble with fixtures, I think there's a few people who are quite happy that Catalan went out this round. It might solve a couple of problems.
Yeah, I mean, I have to disagree with what Mark says there about it feeling like Catalans pummeled Salford for most of the game, because after the first 25 minutes or so, I don't think Catalans played much of a part in the game really at all. And sort of coming towards the closing stages, when it pops up on your app with the man of the match nominations and that sort of stuff. And I was trying to think, well, when we get to the show, who am I going to talk about? Because Catalans were still ahead at that stage. And I'm thinking, Catalans are going to win this game. Who am I going to talk about being their star players? Because I can't think of any of their players that have really stood out in this game, whereas I could think of a few Salford players that I thought had really impressive performances. So I kind of coming from the opposite side of things. I paid more attention to Salford in this game than Catalans, and I do think Dan Sargentson was a deserved match winner for his all-round performance, despite a couple of knock-ons picking up some scrappy bobbly kicks on his own goal line. I thought he was all action from fullback.
Yeah, he is marked out as my kind of outstanding individual from the match. We've talked already this year about the difficulty of slotting in at fullback, and I know he's played there before, so he's got a bit of previous. But I thought he was outstanding. Kind of body on the line type stuff. Yeah, the odd mistake, but who hasn't knocked on? But yeah, for me, he was the individual. From a Salford point of view, he was the outstanding individual. I thought Ikia Hifo was really good.
Yeah.
Going forward, kind of really matching Catalan's forwards, and there was definitely a bit of niggle from some of the Catalan guys. I kept kind of thinking that they were a bit, they were up for a bit of a scrap. But yeah, Ikia Hifo was really good. Watkins did absolutely nothing wrong. Solid on debut is what I've noted about Callum Watkins.
Yeah, he wasn't spectacular, was he? But at the same time, he definitely felt like he helped his side way more than he hurt his side in his first game.
Yeah.
First game since what? When would he have played for? Because he played at the start of the season for the Titans.
I want to say March.
Yeah, it would have been the first 2 rounds of the NRL before the shutdown.
Yeah. So that's a long time between drinks, isn't it? So yeah, he did what you'd want him to do in terms of, carting the ball up and looking, pretty good in defence and stuff. So
and he seemed like a player already that his teammates can totally trust.
Yeah. Yeah. He's looking like a good signing, without question. And obviously, it gives them an idea about what what it's going to look like without their favourite fullback, isn't it, for next year? So it's an idea about what the team's going to look like. Yeah,
and Gil Dudson was another that jumped out to me. I thought he was really good as well certainly in the second half spell. I thought he was good. And I think Mark Flanagan's starting to find a little bit of form as well for me for Salford too. I just thought they were better than the Catalans, and I thought they were going to lose. The couple of sin-binings in the game, the poorly high tackle that resulted in no further action, and it didn't really have a huge impact on the match. Although in his period whilst he was off the game, Catalans did have a try disallowed and then scored a try that pushed them out to the 18-10 lead that it kind of looked like they were going to hold on to when Salford had a few opportunities that they wasted. But then the Sam Castellano sin bin. What did you make of that one? Because it was persistent offences, weren't there? There was 3 or 4 set restarts, very quick back together. But I sort of thought Cassiano was a little bit harshly dealt with on the final one of those. But we've seen this a few times. We saw it last week in the Catalans-Wigan game, where the final penalty/set restart, which led to the sin binning, was probably the weakest, the least like a penalty of them all.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about both cards. I think the Pauly one felt harsh because it seemed to me the initial contact, it kind of bounced off the shoulder, but it didn't end up at the head. So I understand why it was a yellow card. So I think, the way that they've dealt with it in terms of no further punishment, I think is fine.
It looked significant at the time, didn't it? In the speed and the impact of the moment. And
he's a big lad. You know what I mean? He doesn't hit. He doesn't hit gently, does he? Talking of big lads, Cassiano he was unlucky in what he did. What he did was barely a penalty, but I think we see this with Thaler sometimes, that he'll get a bit of a bee in his bonnet in terms of like discipline, particularly around the play of the ball, and if he keeps seeing something, he'll keep punishing it, and eventually he will kind of card somebody. So for me, the targeting of the negative play that Catalan was starting to show, and I think that after they got 18-10 ahead, I think they were quite negative in the way that they went about things. I think it was fair enough, and I understand why. It's a collective yellow card, isn't it, really, rather than Cassiano's particularly.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. It always feels a bit unfair when it's persistent offending by a team, that one person's going to have a yellow card put next to his name on his record.
Yeah. It's not his fault particularly.
No, in terms of highlight moments, we'll have to talk about the try that won the game in Golden Point. So rarely do we see a Golden Point game won by a try rather than a drop goal, but boy, Kristen Inu tried to kick all over the pitch for a drop goal, but nowhere near the sticks in any of those attempts. But I just wanted to mention the James Greenwood try as well before we do talk about that Sargentton game winner, because I just thought he risked injury, I felt, to score that try. He was so committed to reaching that ball out and twisting the ball around. He looked so uncomfortable when he did it because of how his body was contorted. But I thought great effort from him to do that, because it's a player who's been out quite a lot in the last 2 years with injury, but determination to get a try to put his side right back in the match. Every credit to the kid. But Dan Sargent's match winner.
See, it was beautiful because the way that it played to Catalan's kind of excessive chase, didn't it? You just have to look where Tompkins was and the way that Tompkins had pursued. By the time the ball was switched, Tompkins was nowhere. He was completely stuck in the middle of the field. And I mean, to be honest, I'd rather he'd touched it down before he started celebrating. But that's just a personal thing, because he didn't need to go under the posts, because a try you win. Just score wherever. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I understand why he was happy, because it was the moment of the match. It really was.
It was a beautifully worked try. The extra man that they had helped probably Catalan's over chase was even more crucial when they've got a man less as well to cover the space. But it was really well worked. It was clearly something that they'd picked up on and spotted on the 3 or 4 times Kristen Inu had spanned his kicks absolutely nowhere near scoring on them, which was good. That's why you have people like Kevin Brown, experienced players who we might criticise quite a lot. Certainly there's some people who listen to this show that do not like Kevin Brown, but and do not rate him as well. Some that rate him but hate him, and some that don't rate him. But that was a real tip of the hat to him that he picked that up, pulled it out, and got it delivered. The celebrating stuff, it's going to obviously get the conversations about because of the rules that have coming around celebrations. I was wondering, what's going to happen here? Because Salford have to show that try on their social media feeds and their website and stuff, because it was a match-winning try. But we're not supposed to be. Clubs aren't supposed to be showing tries where the players do celebrations that infringe things, and you can't fucking avoid it because of Kevin Brown and Chris Wellham, like humping each other, basically, as Sargentson runs in to score. Forget about the people going up to Sargentson. Wellham and Brown, I mean, great play by both of them, so they deserve to sort of congratulate each other. But boy,
yeah. Oh God, honestly, for those kind of things, you're like, look, frankly, we'll take the punishment because it was just beautiful. So, yeah, I know what you mean.
I think it would just be a warning the first time around, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's this thing like, look, I understand why the passion of the moment would get the better of you. I completely get that, because it's a game-winning moment. You've made the opposition look stupid, and those two things in combination, there's nothing better. There's absolutely nothing better. So yeah, I'd cut him a bit of slack if I was I was having to meet out a punishment.
I think warnings should be all that gets punished for any match-winning knockout tie celebration. So anything in the semi-finals or the final of the Challenge Cup, anything in the semi-finals or the final of the Super League, people should not get fined for celebrating those moments, because those moments are what their entire career is for. I get not celebrating a try to go like 10-0 up after 12 minutes against, Hull KR against Wakefield in a Super League tie, regular season tie. That I get why you'd fine someone if they've already been warned, but you've got to cut them some slack here. Although Ian Watson did everything he could to make sure Brown, the conditioner, didn't actually break any rules.
Yeah, I liked that, yeah. Get away.
Yeah. Excellent. Right, let's move on to a game that we've probably got a little bit less to say about. It was not in the same calibre of entertainment, even though one of the performances obviously delivered massively, and that's the second game on Friday night. It was Leeds versus Hull Kingston Rovers. It was 30-0 to Leeds at half-time, so game over, and it finished 48-18. So through the second half, well done Rovers. Liam Moore was the referee. We had a couple of fan views on this one.
Yeah. So, before I read this fan review, what I would say is sometimes it's worth waiting to the end of the weekend before you start saying things. But anyway, Always in Our Shadow says, no Abdul, no idea. The new Sky Love team came down with a bang. Piss poor defence allowed an ordinary Leeds to walk in time after time. Still, at least it wasn't 50 again. Even the pre-game snack failed to spark any energy. Hashtag since 1985.
Tom Andrews said, the pre-Rona Robins are back. Soft defence and nothing sticking on attack. Oh well, no one wants to win the Challenge Cup with an asterisk next to it. Shame about injuries to Ryan, Staunton and Dagger. All young lads not looking out of place in Super League.
Yes. I've almost got nothing to say about this match.
Well,
which is a bit of a thing, really. those
three injuries to the young players at Hull KR, that is a shame. So we definitely on board with what Tom said about that. The no Abdul situation was kind of the reason I picked Leeds to win this match anyway. So I'm totally on board with that from Always in Our Shadow. But maybe the main talking point, if there was any talking points from a big game like this, was the Jamie Ellis getting put on report for an alleged bite on James Donaldson. Now, Jamie Ellis is a hungry guy. No one's going to say that he doesn't do his fair share of chomping, you would think. But I certainly am pleased that he didn't get any charge on this instance, because all the replays to me showed James Donaldson getting a bit of a weird, nasty kind of fish-hook grip inside of Jamie Ellis's mouth, but there was no suggestion from what I saw that Ellis bit down at any point in the replays that I saw. So I was surprised when Dec Patton got entirely off scot-free from his bite, even though there was aggravating circumstances for that a couple of weeks ago. But Jamie Ellis is here. I'm not surprised. I think I didn't see a bite from
me neither.
From Jamie Ellis. He does that off the pitch.